Welcome to the live stream. Everybody, welcome to the live stream. Happy Monday night. I'm very happy that this Monday, Blunty didn't have to message me and be like, yo, dude, are we streaming? And then I went, oh, crap, I'm late. No, sir. No, sir. I messaged him 20 minutes before the stream started and was like, we're streaming in 20 minutes. And it wasn't like, hey, I just want to check to make sure that you know. Blunty, I assume you realized that I was saying, I want you to know that I haven't forgotten.
Yes. Yes, I 100% assume that's what that meant. It's like,
yeah,
I'm here.
And here's the thing. I had just looked at my watch and went, oh shit, what time is it? Oh god, okay, 20 minutes. Because I just kind of get into a it doesn't help that my wife's out of town today. She went on a road trip, and so it's just sort of me hanging out with the kids, so I'm distracted and out of my normal schedule. And anyway, let's take a quick look at the bingo board, my bingo board anyway, for tonight. If you guys want to play bingo, live stream bingo, there's a link pinned in the comments or pinned in the Discord server if you're on the Discord server. And you can generate your own bingo board. Just checking to see if Bardwell mentions the Discord is on here. I don't think so. Discord mentioned. Oh, well, technically I mentioned Discord. That's an easy one. I'm going to give it to myself. And you can play bingo. If you get bingo during the stream, go ahead and holler it out. It'll be fun. Blunty, are we queuing questions? Because I don't see any questions queued.
People have to ask them first. That's the problem.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're not having a technical issue. And apparently we're not, so I don't get that.
We are not.
Okay. Then I guess I'll just take this question. Why would you not cue this question here, Blunty? I don't know why you would skip this one, asking about my dream watch. I guess since you guys aren't asking drone-related questions, I'll just go ahead and take a watch-related question, and then we'll get back onto the FPV content. Obviously, the question of a dream watch. A dream watch, like just one. I'll tell you one that really jumps out at me, though. I saw this, I was blown away. It is an unachievable price. Where's the Senator chronograph? Oh, the really beautiful one is the platinum one. Is that the one? I believe that's the one. Oh, Senator chronograph panorama date, Glasuta original. I'm a sucker for chronographs, first of all. I like timing things. I'm a science, and I also like this complicated machinery being on your wrist. Now this is beautiful. There's more pictures of it. More pictures, please. Oh, we'll play a video. No audio, please. Just a beautiful watch. I love that it's got a power reserve indicator tastefully tucked away in the second subdial. See, the thing about the second subdial is it doesn't matter what the second subdial reads. You just need to see that it's moving. And that's the perfect place to put the power reserve indicator. Beautiful. We got a 30-minute chronograph counter, so it can be easily read. We got a panorama date. Beautiful panorama date. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous watch. Maybe a little more on the formal side versus the sporty/tool side, but I would go. Oh gosh, look at that movement! Look at that movement; it's beautiful. Oh gosh, so nice. And now this particular one is the platinum one, and the platinum one is beautiful because it has the blued hands, which I think is really nice. The platinum one is, where's the price? Show price. 53,500. 53,500. Now, if you can do without the platinum case and the blued hands, you can get the stainless steel variant, which is beautiful. But I think you'd agree that those blued hands really just make it pop. Like really make it stand out. It's just a little bit dull. The steel version is only 16,000. So the Dream Watch. Now, hang on. Now there's another one I've been looking at. No, that's not it. There's another one I've been looking at. That is, it's the Navigator Chrono that I want. That's this one. Oh, look at that. That's a gorgeous watch. Hang on, we need to see. Yeah, that's a nice one. This is an older reference. I think this is from the 90s. You don't see a lot of examples of it. That's also pretty nice. Very nice. Big fan of it. Anyway, lean in a little bit into the Glashütte original. And then finally, this will be the last one. I hope. Oh, good. We got questions queued. How about that? The good old. You want to go for Swiss watchmaking. This is also high on my list of sort of dream watches. I don't know if it would be the blue or the black. It might be the blue or the black. But the IWC Pilot Chrono. This is my favorite chronograph layout. Day, date, very readable subdials. I have a watch with a similar movement, much lower price point. This is a $8,000 watch, $7,500. Much lower price point. But I love that chronograph layout, and I just think this is a really beautiful. Just love it. Love it. Anyway, the one that I might. The one that now I don't know about this, but the Le Petit Prince with the gold hands. Oh, mwah, mwah. Oh, what's that one? 7,500, same price. Sign me up. All right. So, thank you for asking. Thank you so much for asking. Let's go ahead and take questions about FPV now, before people get too all out of. I thought this was an FPV stream. Order the steel watch, get the blued hands off of AliExpress. Yeah, ha 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 ha. If you think I would open a $15,000 watch, you are sadly mistaken. Anyway. All right, let's take some questions. Let's see here. Let's see, what does I want to do here? How about this one? RC Thrills 007. I can fly in horizon mode, but I can't get 10 seconds into acro. Any suggestions? Yeah, well, I mean, it's normal that you can't do something that you didn't practice doing. Flying in horizon is a lot more like flying in angle than it is like flying in acro, because in the end of the day, you center the stick, and then bada bing, you're back to flat and level. Horizon mode is in some ways acro mode for people who don't know how to fly acro. You got to learn how to fly acro. Now, there's a number of ways to do that. I can't help but plug my own Learn to Fly an FPV Drone for Total Beginners. This is my playlist, Learn to Fly an FPV Drone. Now, I can put the link in the chat, I guess, but just search for Joshua Bardwell, Learn to Fly FPV Drone. Here's a link in the chat if you're interested. And it's meant to get you started flying in acro mode. And I dare say, like, a total of 1.1 million views on this playlist. Holy crap. That's a lot. 561,000 views on the very first video. That's amazing. I'm actually kind of astounded. And so, yeah, a lot of people have learned to fly with this, and I would suggest you just have to bite the bullet and learn to do it. It's difficult. It's not intuitive for most people. The only people I've met who find flying FPV drones intuitive are people who flew helicopters in Battlefield, which apparently Battlefield helicopters fly just like FPV drones. So, people just pick it up.
I will say they absolutely do.
They absolutely do. Okay.
But I contend that the Battlefield I played in, it's mode 3. But I was flying around gates on a track in 30 minutes to an hour the first time I tried. And it just happened to be because it felt exactly like flying a Battlefield helicopter.
Yeah. Yep. So just you just got to bite the bullet. Do it in the simulator, because you'll just screw up your drone in real life if you try and do it in real life. So, but yeah, that's normal. So don't worry about it. I saw a weird thing, says Neri Jurkas 5878. In AliExpress, there's the Speedy Bee Master 5. Speedy Bee Master, let's look that up. Stop with the pop-ups. Speedy Bee Master 5, $1,096? What? What analog PNP version? $1,000. I'm sorry. No. Okay. There's a thing that AliExpress vendors do, and I think it's happening here. AliExpress vendors, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but for some reason, when AliExpress vendors don't have a product to sell, like the product is discontinued or it's temporarily out of production or something, rather than take down the product listing, they just set a preposterously high price so that you can't buy it. And I can't help but wonder if that's what's happening here, because analog TBS version, analog plug and pay version, simulated ELRS version, I don't even know what that means. It says 03 here, but it says analog here. None of this makes sense. It says high definition digital. 03 is also not a thing. It would be the 04. And then the seller is C Tools Accessory Store. It's not Runcam. So I don't know what this is, but this whole thing doesn't make any sense. So, yeah.
Well,
That's the
I would like
V2.
to
Where's
do
the V3? Go
quick
ahead.
caveat, which is that with all this kind of stuff, you just have to use your best judgment and intuition, just like Bardwell is doing, unless you have other information. It's like the thing that complicates all of this is that in China, sometimes they're not allowed to sell to us. Because of the war, and China doesn't like drones going out to the Western countries, in some cases from some companies. So you can get weird stuff, like a new product will pop up on other sites and it is orderable.
That's true.
But most of the time you have to vet it, you know.
Now, I will acknowledge, he said Speedy Bee Master 5 V3. I was looking at the V2. So actually, that's all like, oh, you know, how do you vet a product listing? And here's some insight into AliExpress. But I would like to acknowledge that I was completely wrong at the product I was looking at. So Bardwell is wrong. Where is that? Bardwell is wrong. I feel like I earned Bardwell is wrong on the bingo board. I made a mistake there. Yeah, okay, I'll give myself that. And also, I believe there's Bardwell shows a store, FPV store page. That's not a, is AliExpress an FPV store though? Oh, I don't know about that. They sell FPV, but I don't think you would call them an FPV store. I'm not going to give myself that one. I'm not. We're going to let that one slide. So this is interesting. Now, who is the seller? FPV online store. So that could be anybody. It could be Speedy Bee. We don't know. And the listing makes sense, and the prices sort of make sense. 04 Pro, $367 with for the 04 Pro. That's probably you're gonna pay an import fee, perhaps. Hard to say. I usually don't pay import fees when I buy from China, from AliExpress. But usually the shipping cost includes the import fee, so they do it DDP or whatever that is. This is an interesting looking frame. They're leaning hard into the air intakes here. And then they have the slammed, the two-level deck where it's a slammed top deck behind the camera cage. I don't love that. I would much rather do a split deck design where the rear comes up. I find that makes it harder to mount batteries and it limits what batteries you can mount. And you're somewhat more likely to damage the battery if you go nose in. It's an interesting looking frame, though. It's not that weird that this isn't on the Speedy Bee website. I don't know. I mean, this probably. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Excuse me. Drinking too much of the juice. Drinking too much of the juice. This is probably a legit product. Oh, I'm going to have hiccups on stream. That's so obnoxious. I don't know what to do about that. Let's drink more. Anyway, yeah, interesting. I don't know any. Oh, the question was, do you know anything? No, I don't know anything, but I'll make some stuff up. What is the best new feature of Betaflight 2026.6? Yeah. Holy crap, Betaflight, a new version of Betaflight. By the way, can I say I'm loving this 6-month release schedule. It's not, obviously, it's the end of June, so it's going to be July before this actually releases, but still, 2025.12, 2026.6. You know, it gives you something to look forward to. It lets you sort of plan. I dig it. I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to keep it up, but I dig it. And the question is, what's your favorite? Let's just go through some of the features of Betaflight 2026.6. By the way, I have recorded a video about Betaflight 2026.6. It is in editing, but God forbid it's not the weekend anymore. I didn't tell Fabio. I recorded it on Friday, and I was like, let the guy have a weekend. So I should tell him. I'm going to tell him real quick that he can edit that now that it's not the weekend. So that'll be out this week, I would say. Some very interesting things going on in Betaflight 2026.6. For example, oh, wait, not that. I need hello, come here. master.app.betaflight.com. This is the new configurator. Look how different it is. So they have redesigned the entire configurator around. So the configurator was written in a framework with an app development framework. Plenty. What was it called? Proton? I think it was called Proton. And basically it was holding everybody back. It was a pain in the ass to develop for, and it was the main reason why Betaflight switched from an installable app to a progressive web app, because it was hard to get multi-platform support. Now they've gone back and they've basically completely rewritten the whole thing, and a lot of it looks the same, but it's got this underlying framework that's much more modern and versatile and adaptable and so on, and some of it doesn't look the same anymore. So like if I connect, no, I don't want to connect virtual. I can't find my USB device. Where's my USB device? Hold on. There we go. Betaflight Connect. Like they've reshuffled a whole bunch of things, but just in general, it just looks, well, it kind of looks the same, but also it looks sort of more modern in a lot of ways. And it's more, the dialog boxes are more consistent now. Stuff has just been cleaned up in a real nice housekeeping. Is that right? Where does this graphic is messed up? Oh well. Stuff has just been cleaned up in a lot more nice housekeeping way. Like here, we've got the sensors down at the bottom. They're not taking up a bunch of space at the top. Just like, it's going to be annoying at first because you're not going to know where some things are, but yeah, super cool. We got the sensors tab. So the gyro, all that stuff is here instead of being in the setup tab or the configuration tab. Just like, nice. Check this out. Flight plan. What is that? Well, that sure looks like I'm laying out a waypoint mission. In Betaflight? Betaflight doesn't support waypoint missions. Well, it sort of kind of does. Now, not really. So they're starting to add waypoint support for Betaflight, which blew my mind because Betaflight traditionally has focused on acro and racing and not done autonomous stuff. And then they added they added return to home. It's like, okay, I guess I don't want to crash my drone. If I fail safe, I'll do return to home. And then they added position hold and altitude hold. And I was like, hey, Betaflight, are you feeling okay? You've been hanging out with iNav a little too much? And now they've added waypoints. And I'm like, Betaflight, what? I don't even recognize you. It's like, you know, when your son says, Dad, I have something to tell you. And then they like come out of the closet and you're like, it's okay. I still love you, son. Of course I do. Betaflight's like, Dad, I have to tell you, I'm into waypoints now, and I'm like, it's okay, Betaflight. I never needed you to just be about acro and racing. You could do waypoints. I'll support you even if you get into that stuff. So yeah, you can't use this. Well, I mean, technically you could, but they explicitly say in the release notes, this is not flight tested and it is not for you to use, and it doesn't work. But we're putting it out there, so if you're a dumbass and you feel like you want to try it, you can test it out. They want a selective few people who know what they're doing to test it out and to start poking at it, but it's not ready for prime time at all. So that's interesting. That's not my favorite new feature though. Oh, you know what else? This is good. Black Box Viewer is now built into Betaflight Configurator. That's cool. You can download the black box logs straight from the flight controller or open them off your hard drive. Betaflight now has an auto tune tab. Now I can't demonstrate that for you because I don't have any of the data, but auto tune is basically the Betaflight devs. You take a special black box log with a special debug mode, and then it tells you what to do to your PIDs, sort of. UAV Tech has a video out about it. You can check that out. He plays with it a little bit and talks about it. But considering that there's a whole bunch of auto-tune apps coming out, and my money is that 20% of them are just AI-generated bullshit made by someone who kind of doesn't have a rigorous methodology. Now, I'm not saying which 20%, I don't know, but like vibe coding becomes a thing, and then suddenly in the span of 6 months, there's 7 different AI-based PID tuning. It's like just odds are that like 2 of them are really solid. They were made by somebody who knew what the hell they were doing, and like 2 of them are kind of bullshit. I don't know. But here, this one's from Betaflight devs, and I don't even know if it's AI or what, but it's kind of cool. They added battery profiles. So if you fly cylinder cells that go down to 2.8 volts and lipos that go down to 3.3 volts, now you can easily switch between those and your low voltage warning isn't going wild while you're flying because you have the wrong battery type loaded. That's nice. You can freaking upload. Look at this. If I go here, backups, I can upload my CLI backups to the cloud. I haven't actually figured out how to do that. Like I went in here and I was like, great, how do I do it? I could not find out how to do it. Like if you do save backup here, it just saves it. It just saves it to your hard drive, like usual. You do load backup, it loads it from the hard drive. I don't know if they haven't implemented that or what. But it's coming. You can log in, create a user account. Yeah, I don't know how to make backups. I can't figure that out yet. Maybe the chat will tell me, Blunty. Is it bad that I shared this user token on a stream? Oh, I don't know. Oh well. Okay, well, I've got a video coming out about it. We don't need to go through everything, but there's some good shit in here. The other thing that I think is really interesting is there is a ton of new hardware that's been added. A ton of new MCUs and a ton of new gyros. And I think it really points to the direction that this hobby is going, that manufacturers are finding it harder and harder to find the hardware that they need to build flight controllers. Like they've added support for the STM32H562 and H563. Is that because we need a new one because it's got some performance advantage? I don't think so. I think it's just because it's hard to buy H7s. They're fucking expensive. The H7s are expensive. The F7s are expensive. Everything's expensive. And so manufacturers are trying to, the Betaflight devs are like, okay, we'll add support for it. There's a ton of new MCUs, like more than I think I've ever seen in a single release. and a ton of new gyros. Well, not a ton, but a few new gyros. So, my favorite feature. Oh, ExpressLRS 4.0 SPI. If you got an SPI receiver, you can do ExpressLRS 4.0 now, and it can do both ELRS 3 and 4 at the same time with auto detection. Ha! That's hot. I don't think serial-based receivers can do that.
Wait. No, that's not correct.
No? That's what it says.
No.
Automatic version detection. Right?
Right,
That's how I read it.
But right there it says ELS V3 is the default. If you want to build with V4, you opt into V4.
Yep.
Is it saying you get both V3 and V4?
That's how I read it. That's how I read it. So the way I read it is that by default, they only include V3 because it takes up too much space to add V3 and V4. But if you enable the V4, you get them both. That's how I read it.
Gotcha. Interesting. You can mark it. That's correct.
Sure. I mean, here's the thing. It happens so seldom. I feel like we owe it to the people to give them this square. It happens so seldom. Like, I would have rather you had argued harder so that we could like confidently click this and be like, nobody. Sure. But like, you know, you pivoted real quick. I would not normally, but it's happened so seldom. We're gonna take that square. We're gonna take that square.
Now, can I say something?
Did either of us interrupt the other during that interchange? Go ahead.
That's really cool.
I know.
A long time for stuff like that, for version differences in firmware. I mean, back to FreeSky days. I mean, we've been begging for this stuff for so long. Yeah. Even ExpressLRS is like major versions. Like you said, you can't do that with a normal receiver, and now we get it with SPI receivers. So that is pretty sweet.
You want to see something cool? It's going to take me 1 second to find this, but you're going to think it's cool.
And just to be clear, I know why we can't get it with normal receivers, because they literally have limited flash, but yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, Bry says it does not do both at once.
Well, Bry would know. What does that mean then, Bry? What does that mean,
though? Did that get written wrong?
It says, why does it say automatic version detection? What does that mean?
Interesting.
What could that possibly mean other than it does both at once? I assume Bry is right. Okay. Well, we wait for Bry to answer that. Yeah. Oh, well. Now this, you have to get a license from this guy because he thinks that there are some security implications to this. So you can't just go do this. You have to get a license for it. But he put it out there, so I feel fine showing it to you. He's figured out a way to run 2 different firmwares on an ELRS device. I don't know how this works, but apparently the ESP32 basically has 2 different partitions, and you can like stage one operating system on one partition and one on the other. And he's figured out how to do that. And so using this link, you can flash your board. And so, for example, you can flash version 401 and version 363 to the same hardware. And then, like, I think you do the 3-plug method to change between them. I don't know exactly. I haven't dug it yet. 3 quick power cycles with the slot switch bootloader. Anyway, so, and there's a full video. So that's, if you did have a piece of hardware and you needed to switch back and forth between ELRS 3 and ELRS 4, it is theoretically possible with this special thing. That's kind of cool. Has Bry elaborated at all, Blunty?
He says he has no idea. He didn't do that. If somebody else did, he's not aware of it. And I couldn't find anything in the list of PRs that were accepted.
Okay, so it's possible that the wiki is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I'm tempted. Did you look yourself, or did you ask AI to search the PRs?
I look myself in the list of releases
All right.
on the
Well,
release PR.
it might make sense to point Claude at the master and ask it if it supports that and see if it digs something out. But you don't have to do that right now. I will say, I think we have to take back the Blunty is wrong, because apparently you were right, or at least you were
Yeah,
not
right, definitely.
definitively wrong.
My gut was like, there's no way this is possible. And that gut turns out it was correct the same way you thought, but had just read the thing. You know what I mean? You were
Well,
misled.
Well,
That's
I mean, I think it's more likely that an SPI receiver would be able to do it than a serial-based one, because the
because there's
SPI
more flash
receiver
to live on.
at the end of the day, it has all of the flash space and it has more processing power than an ESP32, I assume. Although I guess I don't know that. So like, I think it's more likely that it would happen for an SPI receiver than a serial-based one, but who knows? Anyway, my favorite feature. Still haven't gotten to my favorite feature. Crossfire now has full resolution motion data. And I'm like, why does Crossfire telemetry need full resolution motion data? And I think the answer is that if you're tracking your drone on Q ground control, or more likely ATAC, that it, instead of getting updates every 10 seconds or every 15 seconds, it'll be updates every second or whatever. And so like, that's probably who that is tailored towards. That's right. That's right. I got you. I got you. Dead. Betaflight Mavlink support is now not completely shitty. It is barely not shitty. You can do any CLI setting over MSP now. That's like might be my favorite feature, just because in the past you could only access over MSP settings that were basically in the GUI. But the CLI settings, you had to open an ASCII serial connection and type letters, which is so dumb. It's such a big, like, just like there's so much foundational shit in here that just make the code base better in ways that won't necessarily make the average user's life better, but that just make Betaflight better. I love it. This is one of my favorite updates since I've been in FPV, I will say, even though it's maybe not the sexiest one. Yeah. So if I had a favorite feature, it would just be that it's foundationally better in a lot of ways. I specifically asked for battery profile support. I'm not saying that I was the reason that got done. I asked about it, and then they went, wait, this is already in the works. But the fact that I asked about it and then it happened, I'm certainly partial to that. You know, I think AutoTune has a lot of potential to be very, very cool. Still got to play with it a little more. So you can flash. You can flash from the Android app now. You could, Betaflight Android app, you could configure but not flash. Now you can flash. That's hot. There you go. Anyway, it's coming. It's coming soon. Levster FPV wants to know, since SPI is now supported from the start of a major release, is there any downside? The downside to so hang on. The thing is, ExpressOS will continue to update. We're on 4.01 now. We'll be on 4.1, 4.2, 4.3 over the course of the next 6 months or so, and Betaflight won't update to reflect that. So currently, SPI receivers are on the latest version, but that will change very quickly as the ELRS devs release new. So that issue will come back. I think the biggest disadvantage of the SPI is not just that. Sorry about that. That was me. Not just that you can't keep up with the firmware, although that is a major one. It's also that it relies on the MCU to do all of the processing, and that there are downsides to that as well. I believe that the ELRS devs and the Betaflight devs were explicitly discouraging manufacturers from doing SPI-based receivers, although perhaps that's changed, maybe due to the cost of the hardware, the ESP chips, whatever. I don't know. But you know, I still would rather have a serial receiver than a SPI one. Yeah,
Also,
Bunty.
just to be clear, it's not supported from the start of our major release. ELRS 4.0 has been out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like this isn't, it's, you know what I mean? It's not like right when ELRS 4 came out, it's not like SPI was supported. SPI is supported in the alpha and now RC1 of the new firmware with a build flag on SPI. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just, it's not the same timeline. That's all that I'm saying. It's definitely earlier than we were getting it. So.
Yeah. Captain Bryce says, it's all downside. Do not buy SPI. I am hard out on SPI. No more updates. But I guess we do have Claude Code. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right from the kindness of his heart, wrote the SPI code so people could have ELRS 4.0 on SPI receivers because it was not supported and they don't want people using it, but people were buying them and manufacturers were making them anyway. So.
Yeah. And sometimes you put your foot down and sometimes you do what's right for the users. I respect it. One IFPV says that probably counts as passionate. So Blunty gets passionate, gets a square. I don't think I have that one. So, and
that's not
also,
the way I normally get passionate.
That's true. That's true. I did talk about prices being high as a driver for the new hardware, but I did talk about prices being high, so I'm going to give myself that one. Okay. I would count that as passionate. Go ahead. Give yourself Blunty gets passionate. Like, we're not playing regulation bingo here, right? Okay, we got a $5 super chat from Scott Stevens. Thank you for your donation, Scott. Does Scott have a question? Scott says, did they fix turtle mode? You said it was broken. They didn't fix it, Scott. So first of all, they didn't break it. They made it safer. In a way, I was relying on the fact that turtle mode was a little bit unsafe. And I was relying on that, and then they made it safer, and it broke my workflow. They didn't break turtle mode. But I made a video about how I fixed it. I did clickbait the thumbnail by saying Betaflight 2025.12 broke turtle mode. I fixed it. You got to play the game. You got to play the game, guys. You know.
The latest version of beta.
But yeah, this is my video about how I fixed it, and you can find out more about that. Okay.
The
Just
irony
a
is,
little
I think
bit.
you got clickbaited into talking about turtle mode so people could get it on their square.
It was a super chat, though.
No,
And it was a relevant question. It was a relevant question. He referenced an actual video turtle mode mentioned. Got it. I mean, I pondered whether it was a bait question at the time, but I was like, no, it's a legit. He didn't just like say, hey, what do you think of turtle mode? See, Mupshot's question is bait. I'm not touching it. And it was a super chat. You got to take the super chats, Blunty. Come on, that's the rules. Them's the rules. Super chat here. Your thoughts about the DJI Avata 360? Any review coming? Thank you, High Speed Boom. I do not have a review of the Avata 360 coming. These new 360 drones are sexy as hell. I just watched Marquez Brownlee review the new. Apparently, there's a new A1 from whatever that company is, and they're pretty slick. They're pretty slick. Sub 250 for a 360 8K drone, and as you're flying it around, you just move your head. This is something that I have dreamed about since the days of analog. That you could have, instead of a gimbal that physically turns the camera, that you just have a wide-angle camera and you turn your head and it just zooms in on. And of course, with analog, that never would have worked because the resolution was so low. And now someone's did it, and I love it. It's very, very cool. Anti-gravity, thank you. The new anti-gravity. So I assume the Avata 360 is just as sexy. Maybe better. Probably better in some ways. So. I don't have specific thoughts about it, though. Is GPS Rescue usable today with Betaflight? Yes, absolutely. 2025.12 has very mature GPS Rescue. That is, even the auto landing tends to work most of the time. So, why is air mode missing in the modes tab? Well, you headed off my question, which I was going to say air mode's missing in the modes tab because in configuration you permanently enable air mode. Then air mode goes away in the modes tab. If this is disabled, then air mode should show up in the modes tab. I don't know why it wouldn't. Like literally, I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't. It's not like angle mode, for example, where if you don't have an accelerometer for some reason, angle mode won't show up. Thank you for a $2 super chat from Sergio Mendoza. Let's see here. Travis asks, I just crashed my drone and now motor 2 doesn't work, but it vibrates normally when I plug in a battery. What might be the issue? You say it vibrates normally, as in, does it do the full startup? As in, do-do-do, do-do. The ESC startup tone has two halves. The beginning half is just the ESC powering up and being alive, and the second half is the ESC talking to the flight controller. The thing is, like, a motor can beep when it can't actually spin the motor. So if you get the full beeps, do-do-do-do-do, well, that's the old BL Heli beep. They have different beep tones now for different ESC firmwares. If you get the full set of beeps, then you know the ESC is alive, you know the flight controller is alive, you know they're talking. I would tend to think the ESC might be damaged in a way that prevents it from spinning the motor, or the motor is damaged. If you get just the do-do-do, that means that the flight controller's signal wire is having the issue. So either the flight controller output is damaged, the ESC input is damaged, or the wire is damaged.
Sergio had a question. I queued it up.
Yeah. I have a Mobula 8 that is flying away when I take off. I have to cut the motors or it will fly to the moon. I already tried the factory dump file, had the same result. It could be it could be that you put the props on wrong, but it's a bind and fly, so probably it came with props on. If it's flying away and you didn't change the props, that's pretty weird. The most basic checks, though, will be, I don't like this. Unmanned Tech took my video and just, I mean, granted he linked my video, so like at least he did that. But basically took screenshots from my video and wrote content from my video and basically summarized my video in a written article without asking. He didn't ask for this. He's basically just summarizing my content in an article. I assume there are ads on this, but I have an ad blocker. I don't know. Like, I don't know how I feel about it. I feel weird about it. Like, on the one hand, hey, it's a search result. Great. You link into my video. I didn't put this on my website, so, like, thank you for doing the work for me. But also, I feel a little weird about it. Like, it's all just content from my video with this dude's name on it. Article by Alex. Alex didn't write shit. Alex just summarized my content. least he attributed me. Thanks, Alex. If I go to videos, here you go. No, where's my video? Here we go. Why is my video not at the top of the list? Doesn't make any sense. This is a Reddit post from a year ago linking to my video, but no, my video is like on the second line. Joshua Bardwell drone flips. Yeah, I know.
I think it's just not phrase matching. I don't know if you've noticed. It's not like I mean, you know, I don't know about Kagi, but like Google does.
Kagi is Google. It's just using Google. It's just a front end on Google.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's prioritizing the word Joshua Bardwell as opposed to the phrase that you're asking for. Because like when you went before, it was giving Clips channel that I posted today. Like that has nothing to do with the topic.
Now I'm lower. The fuck is this? What does this have to fucking... Anyway.
Because it's an Insta... Yeah, it's really keyword based now. It's dumb. Worse than it used to be.
It's so much worse than it used to be. Like I'm searching for the title of my own video. Like figure it out. Anyway, sorry. Sergio Mendoza. Go to this video and check all of the things in this video. Some of them don't apply, but since you did a CLI dump, they might apply and you should check them. It's probably one of these things. That's the short version. Short. Not that short. Okay. Sergio goes on to say, should I be using the SA 2-position switch or the latching switch to arm and disarm? That's your call. Whether it's like whatever. It's very common to use the left shoulder to arm and disarm. But it's whatever works for you and is safe. I don't like to use the depressing latching switch. I like to use an actual 2-position switch for arming because I find it hard to disarm, that you have to push in and release to disarm. I find that to be a little bit more sketchy than I would prefer. I would rather just click and disarm, but that's my personal preference. All right. Jacob Newbert, thank you for a $5 super chat. I have a Darwin FPV Hulk 3. The GPS is slow to grab satellites. Is it worth putting in a GPS mate or upgrading the GPS? Catches it needs to be waterproof. Yeah, it won't be waterproof, probably. I mean, so there you go. What I would do is the GPS wire harness wrapped in foil or copper tape? If not, that's what I would do. Okay? That, in my experience, significantly improves the speed of GPS lock. So you can get it from the HVAC section of the hardware store. I mean, you could probably just use aluminum foil, but I don't feel right about that. And you just carefully and as neatly as you can roll those wires in the tape, and then I would put some heat shrink or some non-conductive tape on top of them. Skesix, that's very clever, but I'm still going to complain about it. Skesix says, for the latching shoulder button, invert the operation. Clicked in is disarmed, then armed is up and out, and you can disarm by only pushing in. I like where your head is at, in that you have made arming the more complicated motion. So disarm is just boop, but arming is click release. I like that. However, the other thing I don't like is that I will usually, when I'm disarmed, I'll rest my finger on the switch to continue to hold it in the disarmed position. right? So if I had a Tango 2, I might just rest my finger on it, right? Whereas if it's disarmed, well, I wouldn't want to rest my finger on it because then the minute I release, it's armed. So I could just maybe rest it near it. I don't know. I guess that's pretty hard to press except by intention. That's a better answer than I came up with. I'll give you that. Thank you for $2 from Ray's FPV, who says, it was my goat. Okay, I don't understand that question, but it was my goat. Whose goat? What goat? No Mas Ariel says, I don't have a good understanding of motor KV versus the commanded commutation frequency RPM from the ESC. Is the KV rating the max achievable speed at a given voltage? Yeah, that's not wrong. The thing that you have to keep in mind is that most ESCs are not commanding a certain RPM. There are ESCs out there that have an RPM-based PID loop, where the throttle input is mapped to a specific RPM, and the ESC uses a PID controller to make the motor spin at a specific RPM. That is not how our FPV ESCs work. The way our ESCs work is that the input throttle is mapped to a PWM duty cycle. So when the throttle is 0%, the duty cycle is 0, and nothing, the motor doesn't spin. And as the throttle goes up, the PWM duty cycle gets longer, and the motor spins until when the throttle's at 100%, there is basically, the PWM duty cycle is 100%, and it's basically just open DC voltage going through the FETs. But the thing to keep in mind is that that PWM signal is switched through the commutation cycle. So what happens is the ESC uses back EMF to detect the position of the magnet. When the magnet reaches a certain position relative to the stator pole, the FET opens up and the PWM signal flows with whatever duty cycle is being commanded. Okay? The PWM signal flows. That energy goes through the magnet and kicks the motor, or pushes or pulls the motor. And it pulls the motor with some amount of strength proportional to the PWM duty cycle. And that makes the motor spin faster or slower. But at no point does the ESC care what the actual RPM of the motor is. The way that KV and RPM come into this is that when that energy flows through the stator pole, energizes the stator pole, pulls or pushes on the magnet, whatever, the amount of torque that is created is proportional to the KV, among other things. Okay? And, well, there's also a torque constant as well as a KV constant, so that may not be strictly true. But the point is this. When the throttle is 100% and the PWM duty cycle is 100%, the motor would spin at its KV times voltage, no load RPM. If it were a perfect world where physics didn't exist and there was no friction, which there isn't. So the actual RPM of the motor will be something less than that. But that is like what the RPM at which the motor wants to spin. But it's not because the ESC is telling the motor to spin at that RPM. It is because as an effect of the magnetic field strength, the number of windings in the coil, and other physical and electrical characteristics of the motor, that is the RPM at which the motor wants to spin when it is given a certain voltage. And that's just how it works. Does that make sense? Maybe. I don't know. I didn't get confused about that question. I'm not confused at all. I wouldn't say I was confused at any point in that explanation. Now, was I wrong? I don't think so. But the chat will tell me if I was, I assure you. Thank you for 5, SGD. From Nova FPV. I find myself instinctively moving my head whenever I fly freestyle. How can I counter this? What you have to do is you have to mentally keep 5% of your consciousness in your body. The problem is that you're letting 100% of your consciousness go into the drone. And then you lose awareness of your body. While you're flying, you have to make a conscious effort to feel your body. Okay? And if you check back in with your body and you can tell you're all twisted up, just straighten out. Okay? Right? Start with a nice shoulder width stance. Right? Relax your shoulders. Right? No tension. Everybody's good. You start flying. You're flying. And as you're flying, just every so often, mentally check back in with your body. And it will become easier and easier for you to just hold that position and not move unintentionally. That's what I would say. Kian FPV says, my magnetometer isn't working on Betaflight 2025.12, but on 4.5 it is working. Could it be a firmware problem? Sounds like it's a firmware problem. Sounds like there's something messed up with Betaflight 2025.12. If it's simply not being detected at all, that's definitely a firmware problem, I would say. If it's just like an alignment issue, maybe you could find the alignment that correctly works. I don't know. You can use pause hold and alt hold in Betaflight 2025.12 without a magnetometer, though. You just have to fly in a straight line for a little while so it gets a good heading estimation. And if you loiter for more than about, in my experience, 5 or 6 minutes, but that may vary, it will eventually begin to toilet bowl because you don't have a compass. So, but you can get usable return to home and usable pause hold for, a few minutes at least. Without a compass. Yeah, Blinty.
I'd suggest just manually trying to add it as a build flag, just in case.
That's a good idea. Yeah, whatever the chip is, manually added as a custom define.
Custom define
in the build
right.
options. Yeah, that's a good idea. Blunty isn't mentioning a build flag. One of the bingo. Question solution is a build flag. I believe that one counts. I don't have that one. So. Yep. Oh, the chat is so engaged. This bingo was such a good idea, Blunty. The chat is so engaged.
Turns out gamifying things works. Imagine if we had a reward, but then it would be pay to win because you could super chat to win the bingo.
Well, we could just stipulate that super chats don't count.
That's true.
We could stipulate that super chats under $20 don't count.
Nice.
We could stipulate that you could pay additional money to uncheck everyone else's. No. R&DM Pac-Man says, after crashing my Air 65-2, it's unflyable, jerky. There's a delay before it reacts. Any tips? The Betaflight 3D model is jerky. Yeah, that sounds like a gyro problem. I hate to say it. Like you crashed and now the gyro is broken. Your flight controller is broke. Is the most likely. Like, it's kind of, I feel like it's a cop-out. People come to me with a problem, and if the answer is your shit's broke, that's not like, well, I haven't really solved your problem. I've just kind of told you what you already knew. But yeah, the 3D model moves weird, the drone moves weird, and it happened after you crashed. You probably broke it's just like, that's it. New flight controller time, I'm sorry to say. Sunshine wants to know if I've seen this video of a drone flying inside a tornado. Am I going to get
in? Yeah, we're good.
Am I going to get copy struck for this? I do not. No. I'm so sorry, guys. Sunshine, I appreciate you sharing this, but even this guy says, I do not own the rights to the video courtesy of Max Velocity and Odus. I feel like I'm going to get a copyright notice if I play this video, and so I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to do it. It seems cool. Drone flying into a tornado seems pretty cool. Like, presumably they... Oh, this is FPV. I was going to say, presumably they retrieved the footage, but this is FPV, so maybe they didn't. Yeah. Anyway, people can check that out if they want to check that out.
There's an old video of Vanover doing that from a few years ago, too.
Yeah? I remember that. I remember that. Daniel Harmon says, my LiPo is taking a really long time to charge. Stop. Take it off the charger. It has a problem. It's messed up. You are at risk of starting a fire. Damn it, I missed. That is one of the things that will end with a fire. Not 100% of the time, but like, you know, alert, alert, do not proceed. Take this seriously. You know what I mean? I saw a Reddit thread, and this person told a story. It's a sad story in which a child passes away, tragically. He said the kid woke up and there was a bat on his face, and the kid swats the bat away. And like 3 weeks later, the kid develops rabies symptoms and dies. And like Reddit has this thing where, so somebody will be like, hey, there's a bat in my house. And people are like, rabies! Reddit just assumes that if a bat was anywhere within 50 feet of you, then you should get a rabies shot. And it's a little bit overreacting. But here was a case where the kid was sleeping and the bat was in the bed with him. And he was like rolling around with the bat. And the whole time the bat's just like biting the fuck out of him. It's like, there are some times in life, like there's a tendency in life that everything is like no big deal, right? Some people don't. Some people panic about lots of things. I don't know. Maybe that's not true, but generally there's this. We could call it normalcy bias, that like you just assume that everything's fine, and you need to be able to recognize the signs that stop. Shit's about to get bad. Okay. Now, some of those signs are overt. You're walking on the street, there's an explosion, an earthquake happens, you know, and you're like, oh, shit just got real. And some of those signs are more subtle, and those are the ones that are easiest to miss. If you're charging a LiPo, and the LiPo is just taking forever to charge, one of two things is happening. Either it's overcharging, and it's at 5 volts and it's about to light on fire because your charger is messed up, or it is not charging up and that energy is turning into heat inside the LiPo and it's getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and it's going to light on fire potentially. So get rid of that battery, I would say. Just get rid of that battery. What's the smallest possible drone that you feel like can handle a DJI O4 Pro and has prop guards? Easy. You teed me up on this one. Flywoo Flylens 85. Now this one has the DJI O4 wide. That's not the O4 Pro. They make a version with the O4 Pro though. Flylens 85. Stop. Flylens, they make a version with the O4 Pro, I assure you. Flylens 75, 85, 2S brushless whoop, O4 Pro. Here you go. Now they make a 75 millimeter version of it, and that exists. I like the 85 for the O4 Pro. I would discourage you from getting the 75, although some people out there would be like, what are you talking about? It's fine. And they're not wrong, but I would steer you to the 85 with the 04 Pro. That's where I would send you. I think it's a good one. Now we definitely showed an FPV store on screen. For sure. Okay. Radio question? Radio question. Was there a radio question? Huh, Sunshine says that's like an old myth that a rusty nail. It's not rabies that a rusty nail gets you. It's tetanus. Do you remember that big structure that I had out in my field that I would fly around? And eventually it fell down because it lasted way longer than I really thought it would, honestly. Eventually it fell down. And it was just a big pile of screws and nails and lumber in my, and then eventually I started pulling it apart and trying to, get rid of it. And of course I'm doing this in flip-flops because I'm a redneck in some ways. And sure enough, I stepped on a freaking rusty screw. Just sticking up out of just stepped on it. Went right in my foot. And I went inside and I said to my wife, I was like, do I have to go get a tetanus shot? And she was like, and I was like, well, how deep is it? I don't want to go get a tetanus shot. And we looked it up and I was like, no, I got to go get it. I went that day and got a tetanus shot. I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm probably not going to get tetanus, but my God, if I do, it's bad. And I literally stepped on a rusty screw. The exact thing they say that you shouldn't, that gives you tetanus. So. Thank you for $5 from Funky Goat 101. Between the GEP-RC Mark V and the Nazgul Evoke, which is the better drone? Are these the best 5-inch freestylers? Funky Goat, I would certainly put those up near the top of the freestyle bind and flies. Those are definitely in like let's say the top 3 with probably I don't know. It's tough. There's a lot of good 5-inch freestylers. Axis Flying makes a good one. In terms of, let's say this, mass market bind and flies. Like, the reason I hesitate is I know there's other people out there making 5-inch bind and flies. Maybe they're just a little bit smaller. And I don't want to say, oh, well, no, not them. Maybe they're better. But in terms of big companies that make thousands and thousands of drones, Axis Flying, GEP-RC, iFlight, of those, I like the GEP-RC Mark V the best. The iFlight one is very good, but it's it's got the plastic covers and the LEDs, and it feels like it doesn't feel like a freestyle drone like I used to build. It's like this drone. It's an iFlight drone. And so for all the goodness that it is, it just philosophically, and it is very good. Just if they just take the plastic side plates off it, I would like it better. But I take the GEP-RC. They're both very good. I think the GEP-RC just speaks to me a little bit more. Here's a €6 super chat from Jurian0203 who says, I have the Skyzone Cobra X and I was looking to upgrade. How good are the Eachine EV300D? No. That's not an upgrade. No. The EV300D. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. No, don't do that. That's not the way. Save your money. That's not enough of an upgrade. That's like a... It's not... It's like you want the real thing, but you can't afford it. So you're going to buy the next best thing. But it's not going to be satisfying. It's not going to be what you want. The SkyZone Sky 040 can be had for... Oh, God. $454. Was that $100 more? More than... You should get the SkyZone Sky 040, which is a little bit more, but just wait. Save your pennies. That's the way to go. It's better. That's a goggle you can, like, stick with. Now, I believe that the 040 has the latency problem that Nils Vo called out. And so if you are worried about latency... It has higher, but then we don't know what the freaking Eoshine's latency is. It's probably worse. We don't know. This is a solid choice. It's $455. That's more than $320. Just save your money. Get the right thing. The Eoshine is way too old and that's not it. It's not the one. That's what I would say. So Arthritic says, at that point, why not get the HD0 box goggle? There we go. The thing is, he's already got box goggles. Now, the HD0 box goggle is better than the Cobra, but I think he wants to move away from box goggles to like a binocular style goggle. So, Jose Navarro says the 300Ds aren't bad. Okay. Let's see here. Stallion Butter says, on one of my Whoop builds, one motor is twitchy and erratic. I plugged it into a different motor plug, and it works fine. So that points to the ESC. That is correct. Anything else I can try? If the motor's fine, like, you could check the ESC options. In theory, that the one of the ESCs could have a different startup power than the other. It's unlikely.
I also think, though, that, like, and maybe somebody who knows better could actually tell me if this is not correct, but basically, my guess would be that there's enough variance in parts and builds and electronics on a ESC, a 4-in-1, that it's possible that one corner or one set of ESCs or FETs or whatever is going to need a little bit more power than another one. So if you're, like,
It's
right
possible.
on the edge...
Like try raising the startup power or raise the idle throttle?
Yeah, I think you raise the startup power, or idle. But yeah, just a little bit, just to see, like, because you're already going to condemn the ESC for being toast anyway.
You might as well.
You might as well. That's the thing that I would try.
That's a good idea. Yeah, Crom agrees. That's good. Two bingo-related things. First of all, I would say I interrupted you there. I'm going to get that square. And, yeah.
Sorry, there's a great thought from chat. Barnaby Jones says, plugs also are different.
Oh, so, like, yeah, direct solder. The plug could be screwed up. Oh, wow. Well, Barnaby Jones.
Yeah, but it's not even just that. It's the idea that, like, if the plug will have different resistance, so it may need different power.
No, that's
in the startup power.
Absolutely direct solder the motor. Take the plug out of the equation. 1,000%. Yeah. That's the best answer. Marco says you interrupted me, but I don't think you you were like, hold on 1 second. I guess if the thing is, you're never going to just jump in and interrupt me. So if you say, hold on 1 second, I guess we got to count that as Blunty interrupts Bardwell. Question asking for the new best drone. The chat is giving themselves the new best drone because he asked about the Mark IV versus, I guess. And also, One IFPV is the first in the stream to have gotten a bingo. Let's just validate this bingo right here. Bardwell yard work store? When did I talk about? Oh, I did talk about yard work. I guess technically I was in the yard. Yeah, I think we gotta wait. Bardwell yard work. Need myself that Discord drone flipping out. Question about goggles. Question about goggles. That's a generous one. All right, well done. One IFPV. You get nothing. You get nothing except you get the enjoyment of knowing you were the first to get a bingo. Well done. I talked about Vanover. Somebody gave the question of the square for old school pilot mentioned, which I also don't have. So, anyway. Thank you, Raise FPV, for a $5 super chat. I appreciate all you do. If it weren't for you, I'd never have built my first quad. Been flying 2 years now and loving it. Thank you. That's very gratifying. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you're in the hobby and you're enjoying it. Mallard Mafia asks, what does enabling telemetry allow you to do or get? I don't know what I don't know. On the radio, you can see telemetry data like the battery. You know everything you see in your OSD, battery voltage, etc. That stuff can be fed to the radio and show up on the radio screen. Why would you care about that? Well, a lot of people don't. Because a lot of people, they just look at the on-screen display in their goggles. They have all the information they need, and then they're happy and they get on with their life. But there are things you can do, like you can have your radio read out your battery voltage audibly. There are other things you can do, like a lot of times, if I plug in my drone and I set it down and I'm waiting for it to lock sats, I will have a telemetry screen up on my radio that shows me the number of satellites locked, so that I don't have to put my goggles on to check if the sats are locked yet, and I can see the sats locked through the telemetry. So, yeah. Also, telemetry is used if you could use telemetry to talk to the drone. You can run the Betaflight Lua script on your radio, and you can configure your flight controller from your radio screen. Most people don't do that, but it is a thing that exists, and it uses telemetry to communicate with the flight controller. Chrome does that. Chrome? Is it Chrome or Chrome? Also, technically, it should have an E if it was Chrome, shouldn't it? Yeah, Blenty.
I'll also point out that, you're going to lose, if you fly away from yourself a decent distance, you're going to be losing telemetry. Like, I think that's people true. Like set up telemetry like it's going to be super helpful and it's going to alarm me when my drone is about to fail safe, and then you realize like, oh, I lost telemetry halfway through my flight, and I'm not going to know. You should just realize like what you're actually going to get out of the telemetry. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Brandon Bean says the opposite, Blunty. Because you can get long-range receivers with like 500 milliwatt telemetry radios, and then your telemetry will last as long as your control link. Brandon Bean says for doing long-range stuff, sometimes I lose video, and the only thing I have to look at is telemetry as I return to home. Yeah, absolutely. Daniel Harmon, going back to the question about the broken gyro, if you crash and your gyro seems messed up, I cleaned it with 100% industrial-grade alcohol, and the problem was fixed. Good, okay. That's weird, but I'm glad you fixed it. Twathammer Racing says, with your $100 Patreon level, is that an hour-long call? Yes, it is. If you sign up to my Patreon at the $100 level or above, you get a 1-hour call with me. Originally, basically, people were just like I help everybody through email and Discord, but I kind of draw the line at phone calls just because, like, if I'm helping you via Discord or email, I can, like, be reading Reddit in the other screen, or I can have a video on, or if my kid comes and asks me a question, I can talk to them. Basically, I can be answering 5 other questions in 5 other windows at the same time. But if I get on the phone with you, it's me and you locked in for 1 full hour. And I was just like, I don't, okay. I was like, fine, I'll do it, but it's going to cost $100. And then, like, people were like, okay. And I was like, oh, damn. All right. Fine. So, yeah, out 1 hour, $100. Anything you want to talk about, pretty much. Zenny866 says, I have 500 euros to spend on a video system, and I live in Europe. What do you recommend? DJI? I mean, like, The question is, what are your priorities? And then we go into the discussion of like, what's the best video system for me? If cost is an issue, analog. If you're a racer, analog or HD0. If you're a general all-around pilot and not super into racing, DJI. DJI has higher latency, but most people feel that the improved image quality and the excellent range of penetration is better than the latency, and they just make do. Absolutely, you will be a better pilot with lower latency than with higher latency. But overall, you get a lot done with DJI, and the link is very, very solid. Is this a digital versus analog discussion? Yeah, okay. We'll call that digital versus analog. Sure. Barely. Hey JB, I have a 4-inch long-range bind and fly that came with a buzzer built in. Can I add a self-powered buzzer to the same buzzer pads of the flight controller? Yeah, you can. The self-powered buzzer doesn't draw power from the flight controller. It uses its own internal battery, so you're good to go there. Yeah, don't worry about that. Personally, I would disconnect the built-in buzzer and replace it with the self-powered buzzer, but Koala FPV, that's cute. Koala FPV says, is it annoying to track super chats for taxes? No, because YouTube just sends me a 1099 at the end of the year and tells me how much money they gave me. So it's not an issue at all. But that's a cute question. I would not give you the bingo square question about racing. That was not a racing question. That was a video system question that happened to touch about racing. I also don't think that was a long-range question. I would not take that square. The question mentioned long-range, but wasn't about long-range. Is how I read it. But that's just how I read it. Marco wants to know if I have an ST1901 Chrono. I don't. I don't have an ST1901 Chrono, but I do like the ST1901. No, don't go to Caliber Corner. Sugus has ST1901s. So this is the classic ST1901, the Seagull, the Zizhuan, or however you say it. I personally wouldn't own this watch. The aesthetic doesn't appeal to me, but the movement is a beauty. It's a beautiful movement. Can I see any more shots of the movement? And the ST1901 is one of the most economical. Let's see. Oh, there it is. One of the most economical manual wind chronograph movements that you can get. Like there are questions about QC issues with it. Like it's like made to like the whole watch is $189. So like how much is the movement? But it's a real work of engineering, frankly, that you got a manual wind chronograph movement. I don't want the Zizhuan, though, or however you say it. But I do not own one. I do not own one. I like the look of it. But every time I think about potentially buying it, I'm like, yeah, it's just going to crap out on me. I don't know. They actually, I don't remember the name of it, but they make a watch that has the ST1901 movement put in backwards. So when you're wearing it on your wrist, you see the movement, and you have to take it off your wrist and look at the underside to see the time. And it's a complete novelty thing, but that does kind of like, it appeals to me. Nah, I don't own one. It's a beauty though. It's very, look at that. Look, you got some engraving there. You got gold. You got blued screws. You can see the jewels, and it's like a fine movement. But like eventually, it's gonna wear out, and then like you're not even gonna service it. You're just gonna throw it away. I don't know how I feel about that. It was grass clippings in the gyro, says Daniel Harmon. It was iFlight's recommendation, actually. Like, grass clippings were shorting the pads, the pins? Maybe. Sure. That's interesting. But it happened after a crash. Well, I guess he could have gotten grass on the gyro in a crash. Hail FPV says, I got a kid wanting a 7-inch long-range 04 setup. Can I make that happen for him for $1,600? Now I'm going to give myself the question about long range, by the way. I'll call that one. I still don't have bingo, damn it. Yeah, for $1,600, I think so. Like the whole setup? Okay. That's just the frame. Like, I'm trying to, like... Moz 7 analog, $500. We want DJI 04. Oh, whoops. 04 Pro. So you're going to be looking at about $750 for the drone. That still leaves you a fair amount of money. I think $1,600 is doable. You're going to spend another, let's say, $200, so $700, $900, $950. Let's round up to $1,000 for the controller, and that's going to leave you $600 for the goggles. Oops. How much are DJI G3 these days? $500, so you're at about $1,400, $1,500 with the goggles. I think you're nearly there. I think you just barely squeak in, but you're going to have some things that he's going to have to get himself. Like, you still haven't bought batteries. I think $1,600 for a DJI 04 system, you could just make it, or maybe be slightly over. Like $2,000, no question. Or you need to like start looking for used stuff or looking for places to save money. Like I just went for the GEP-RC Moz 7, but like there are cheaper 7 inches out there. I don't know if they come with DJI though. Like why? Yeah, start them with analog like the rest of us. Nah, that's not going to be cheaper. Analog isn't going to be cheaper. The goggles, yeah, you're going to spend just as more on the goggles.
We forgot remote ID.
What's that? I forgot a remote ID transponder.
Remote
oh,
ID.
He's doing long range. That's not legal anyway. That's funny, Bunty. You're funny sometimes. How do you feel about Beta FPV releasing a brushed flight controller recently? I feel confused.
I've asked a lot of people about this, and every single person has replied to me with WTF.
Where is it? This is not the latest. What's the brushed one, Blunty? Oh my god. Excuse me. 1 to 2S brushed flight controller. Yeah, there's a new... You guys... Ah! I didn't switch screens. Okay, hang on. Bardwell forgets to change screen. Also, confused about a question. I am literally confused about this question. But not because the flight controller confuses me. Why does this exist? Why does this exist? Who wants this? Like, presumably, Beta FPV is going to release a brush drone. Right? That's why they invented this. They didn't invent this for the consumers. No one wants this. So, yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, just for some thoughts, I've talked to different people about this.
Long-awaited upgrade. Go ahead, sorry.
First of all, it says drone soccer in the thing. I did know.
I just pegged that. Yep.
But I can't tell you why that's better for drone soccer. I mean, I was there when drone soccer was being developed. It didn't. There's no reason you need brushed or brushless motors. You know what I mean? The cost, of course, of brushed motors are probably cheaper. There's probably brush motors in boxes in warehouses, right? Like,
Yeah, but
they're
no
not
one
around for so
buying them.
long.
With no one buying
Right.
them.
But the interesting thing is they put all the other modern things on the flight controller. So they're paying for most of the cost of the flight controller. In addition, for brushed motors, you still need 4 FETs per channel instead of 6 FETs per channel. So you only save a third of the FETs. However, these boards are packed. I don't know if they like decided for some reason that this was a good. I don't know. I haven't heard anybody who gave me a
very
real good
confusing.
answer as to why they could possibly do this.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to save much money. You know, there's
Right.
not that much lost here.
Yeah.
And they're the same FETs, by the way.
Yeah. Are they?
As far as I can tell, it'll be the same FETs basically.
There's just
So they're
basically.
not like it's not like stock of FETs. You know what I mean? It's like I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of things that they're doing this for, but they're
So
using
there's
all
eight.
the same
There's
components.
8 fewer FETs, right? Is that it?
Correct, correct.
2 per motor. I mean, that saves
Yeah, 2
some
less
money.
per-
And there isn't an official Betaflight target. Is that because they used the bad gyro? Does this one have the bad gyro? No, it's BMI 270.
I'm not
That's
sure.
okay. No, the BMI 270 is all right. So presumably there will be a Betaflight target. Yeah, no one knows why this is happening. Beta FPV knows.
Hey, there are probably people in this chat who don't even know what a brushed motor is.
Right, because, well, brushed motors, you just run a DC current through it, and it spins, and then they wear out, and they're shitty. But back in the day, you didn't used to be able to make brushless motors small enough to work on a whoop. So all little 65 millimeter drones had brushed motors. And then we got better and better at making tiny brushless motors, and they're better in every way. Like, there's no advantage to brushed motors except lower cost. But even that, like, they just wear out. The brushes wear out, and then you have to replace them. I mean, I guess you replace brushless motors too. Like, this is a weird decision. This is a regressive decision that makes no sense unless you live in a world where you don't have access to brushless motors for some reason. Even as you said, Blunty, the flight controller itself, you're not really saving much at all. You're saving the cost of 8 FETs, and you're saving room on the board. But the thing is, let's imagine that Beta FPV was designing this flight controller, and they went, fuck, we're out of room. We can't make the board any bigger. I know. If we make it brushed, then we can save the space of 8 FETs. Oh, no one will buy it. Good, you've made a product that no one will buy, because no one wants brushed motors. Who wants brushed motors? So I have to assume that Beta FPV has a demand for a brushed flight controller, and this product fits that demand. Go ahead.
Yeah, like pre-ordered by Drone Soccer or some kind of weird, like,
Right.
hey, you know, we're working together on this.
Yep.
The other thing is, like, is it possible there's not sanctions on brush motors, but there are on brushless? So it's easier for them to produce brush motors now because China has
Doesn't
sanctioned-
matter, because no one wants them. It doesn't matter if you
Right.
make a product, you can export it to no one.
That's also true.
The thing is, this has to be driven by a customer demand. Beta FPV wouldn't design this thing. I think it would be stupid for them to go, hey guys, you know what nobody's making is a brushed flight controller. That's going to be our big ticket to the big time. I don't think they're that dumb. And I don't think that I'm wrong, and Blunty, I don't think you're wrong. I think we agree that, like, there isn't some huge untapped demand. If only they knew. People would buy brushed motors, brushed whoops. They're worse. They fly worse. They're just worse. They're cheaper. So, like, the only thing I can think of is, number one, Beta FPV has some demand for this that we're not aware of. Like, Drone Soccer comes to mind because they mentioned it. And they developed this to fit that demand, and now they're just going to, we might as well sell it. Or they're about to release, like, a super cheap, like, occasionally newbie drone. This kind of thing. I think they did this, but it's certainly the kind of thing they would do. Will release an ultra cheap brushed whoop, and it's like $50, and they're like, I'm sure for $50 I'll give it a go. You know, maybe they're going to release some ultra cheap brushed micro drone, and it's going to be on it. But other than that, I'm just completely completely mystified. So. Thank you, a gaming channel, for $5 Australian. Have you tried the N3 goggles? And what is your thoughts about the 60 hertz screen? Is it still decent for freestyle? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, the latency's a little higher, but it's okay. Now, hardcore racers? No. They don't want... hardcore FPV pilots. Some of them would say, no, the latency's unacceptable. But probably it's okay. Yeah, Blinty.
Is the latency higher on an N3 with race mode or on Integra? I wonder. You know what I mean? Because you got 60 hertz versus having race mode.
I don't know.
It certainly would be less variable latency because you have race mode.
Yeah, the race mode brings the base latency down from like 24 milliseconds to 19 milliseconds. And then it goes up as you get further away. So the question is, well, the 60 hertz versus 120 hertz is how many milliseconds? Hang on. That's easy to calculate.
Like 6 or something.
1 over 120 is 8 milliseconds. 1 over 60 is 16 milliseconds. So you're losing 8 milliseconds to the frame rate. No, it's 100 hertz, not 120. Is that right? The Integra and the G3 are 100 hertz, not 120. It was the V2 that was 120. So sorry, hold on. So it's 10 milliseconds versus 8 Is that right? 100 versus 60? 1 over 60 is 16. Oh, it's 6 milliseconds. Yes, you were right. It's 16 milliseconds for 60 hertz versus 10 milliseconds for 100 hertz. So you're 6 milliseconds slower. By going to race mode, you're going from 24 down to 19, which is 5 milliseconds. So it actually just about balances out. The N3 in race mode, just based on this back of the napkin math, is about 1 millisecond slower than the Integra, not in race mode, but the Integra doesn't support race mode. Sunshine! Got a bingo! Have you been doing this manually? Why does yours not look like mine with the X's? I don't know. Congratulations, Sunshine. How FPV was in the older days. I like that one. Nice. Nice. Bardwell talks about watches. Oh, every time. KM4 OTN, Twat Hammer Racing. I don't know why. Like, I'm going to be on my deathbed and I'm going to be muttering KM4 OTN and no one's going to know. I don't know why somehow I have memorized my ham call sign, but it's KM4 OTN. I have never in my life used it to make a contact because I don't do ham radio shit, but I do know my call sign and I do have a ham license. Sunshine says the website doesn't do it for me. The X's. Oh, I'm just clicking on it. Someone send a freestyle video for JB to watch so he can bingo himself. Yeah, no. I don't game the system. I take the questions I want to take, regardless of whether they give me bingo or not. B. Brendan, that's very interesting. B. Brendan says the F9AC class, often used for youth schools and introductory international cups, strictly mandates the use of brushed motors to cap top speeds and enforce strict safety parameters. See, it's drone soccer, Plenty. That's what it is. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. They must think they're going to sell 1,000 of these to drone soccer leagues or something. Or 100. I don't know. The flight controller is a high-end upgrade for teams competing under those rules. There you go. Is drone soccer that big of a deal? Apparently. Who knew?
It's become a big deal, I think, because they're getting it into schools and communities. Like
That's awesome.
Basically as a STEM thing, which is good.
Sunshine says, apparently I don't know how to use a website. I just thought you downloaded the card and marked it however you want to. Oh, man. Oh, that's great. I picture drone soccer being like Rocket League. Not exactly. If you've never seen drone soccer before, U.S. drone soccer. Oh, the battle at the beach. You know what? I just want to see a little video of some drone soccer. I don't... Oh, yeah, okay. I don't want to show any copyrighted music videos, though. See if we can see some drone soccer. I don't think it's like Rocket League.
It is not.
Here we go. Plenty, I don't actually even, like, I don't really even think I could explain drone soccer without getting it wrong.
It's very...
in ways that would piss people
off. I can't tell you what the current rules exactly are. I helped develop it, and when I was helping develop it, we had a set of rules that I can explain to you so that you know the basic idea.
Please.
Okay, so on each side you have a circle. That's your circle. You have a couple defenders and an attacker. Your attacker has to get through the other circle, and the defenders have to try to keep you from getting through the other circle. So you're the ball. Your drone, your attacker drone is the ball, and you have to try to make as many trips through the other circle as you can to score points.
Nice. That's
the
it?
Premise.
That's basically it?
Yeah. That was when we were doing it, that was the premise. I'm sure there's extra rules and roles and stuff, but...
Nice.
Kind of like Quidditch,
you fly at line of sight, right?
Yes.
Line of sight. So, man, they are taking it seriously. They got all kinds of... Is it scored automatically? Or does somebody just watch the goal when people go through? All right. This is almost as thrilling as the World Cup. I actually mean, I'm not being sarcastic, but mostly because I don't care that much about soccer. I'm more interested in this than the World Cup. Like, in my emotional engagement level is higher. Oh yeah, it changes color. Is he? No, maybe the ref is. Yeah. I think the ref is scoring it. I don't think it's automatic. That's my guess. He's got that thing in his hand. I think he's pushing buttons. That's something. So, can they just like park in front of the goal? Yeah, like that. Why don't they just park in front of the goal and keep the dude from going through?
Because they get slammed out of the way. I mean, that's the idea. And also, it's hard to park. And also, you have other drone. I mean,
Yeah.
Also, they're kids.
Yeah. I hear you saying that they're just bad pilots. That's what I heard you say.
I'm saying that it's harder than you think it is. And I bet with brush drones, it's even harder.
Why don't they just fly better? Why don't they just fly better, Blinty?
We were using little iFlight drones, I think, at the time that were brushless.
I'm intentionally, for the record, if anybody out there plays drone soccer or, God forbid, is on one of these teams, I'm intentionally just being an ass. I'm just being an ass. I'm making fun of myself, not you. I hope that's clear. Like, I watched the World Cup and I was like, just kick the ball into the goal. How hard is it? Oh, man. Let's see. I already got that question. Oh. Oh my goodness. What's a good receiver for 2.5 inch that can be both long range and freestyle? How long range is your 2.5 inch drone gonna go? Like a good receiver? Like an Express LRS? 2.4 gigahertz receiver will be fine. I'm kind of confused by this question. Too bad I already gave myself that square.
I think the best way to put it is like basically any ExpressLRS 2.4 gigahertz receiver
Yeah.
will do the job.
Yeah.
On that
will
drone.
be fine. It'll be fine. You'll get more range than you need. Why do drones have left and right propellers? Because motors spin clockwise and counterclockwise, and then the propeller has to reflect that so it pushes the air the right direction. How do I set them up on the Pavo 2.0 Pro? I don't know what the default motor layout for the Pavo 2.0 Pro is. What I would do is I would go into Betaflight and go to the Motors tab. And in the Motors tab, there will be a diagram, and it will show the intended motor direction, clockwise versus counterclockwise. Once you know the intended motor direction, I want you to go watch this video. Joshua Bardwell, how to install quadcopter props correctly. And it is video. Oh, you can't see the video because I'm zoomed in. It's a video about props for the most basic of beginners and how to install them and how to understand them. That's where I would suggest you go next. Wow. Wow. Blunty, you should make Bardwell goes into the archives. Bardwell watches one of his old videos. You should add that.
I've showed you the video where I did those speed runs with the Dal T5040 props. That's the Dal 50.
Oh my God. I did speed runs with those props, and I did it by marking a distance. You can see the tape on the ground here. And I just basically, without controlling for pitch angle or altitude, I just did a full throttle run, and I timed how long it took me to go. And it's like, in retrospect, like pitch angle affects it, altitude affects it. Like, I mean, it was something, but like, what did I learn about the props? I made such, I don't know, like...
40 tri-blade, and
I
my
was having a good
favorite
time.
prop in the world, the King Kong 5040.
Oh, King Kong
and
5040.
I would like to take a look at the black box logs from those to show you some of the interesting things that I see in there. One of the things I want to point out to you
My
is
favorite prop
that
in the world.
the Dal T5040 props are very clean and noise-free. They seem to be very well balanced. And I want you to take a look at my gyro traces here. And when we get to the King Kong 5040s, we'll compare and see what they look like. But you can see here, even as I raise the... Oh, there's some more. This tells us that the 5040 and what's coming out of the blade...
Anyway. Mine weren't glow in the dark. That was a good prop back in the day. Joseph Dahari says, "What's up, Bardwell? This is Cricket." Hey, Cricket. What's up, bud? Can you talk about how brushed whoops flew? The issue is that brushed motors had less torque. They were less responsive. And you couldn't turtle mode with them either. Although that can be solved with technology. I wonder... Oof.
Yeah, the new beta FPV boards are turtle mode possible. You add 2 FETs, right? I think that's why they have as many FETs as they have, so they can turtle.
Good copy, Bardwell. Here's a brushed whoop flying.
And there's no sound, of course, because this is DVR footage, so I'll just give you commentary over the top, because you know that's what I love.
This was at the top of a hotel in New York City. I was staying for work, in this hotel, and there was like a bar slash restaurant at the top that was empty during the day. And of course, in New York City, it's hard to find places to fly. So
to do. This first flight you're seeing is basically stock defaults. I tried all sorts of things to improve the performance of the copter, and almost everything I did made it worse. I tried adjusting min throttle. I tried turning air mode on. I tried various things. They've actually done a decent job of setting this up.
Lens of the camera.
How it needs to be, or I don't know enough about tuning these little.
You can literally see the brushed motors right here. There they are, the cans.
Brushless copters to do a better job than Eachine has. The only thing I did that categorically improved the performance was I turned the eye gain on pitch up from, I think the default is 50 to about 80, and I found that I was having to manage pitch during turns quite aggressively, and it meant that I couldn't focus on making a smooth turn with yaw and roll because I was constantly having to fight the pitch axis. Raising the eye gain on pitch to about 80, maybe 85, it caused the copter to turn much better and do a much better job. It's not flying bad here, though, frankly. The camera is slightly better than you're seeing here. It was actually getting towards the end of the day, and it was starting to get dark. So a lot of this glare that you're seeing, and especially in the next clip that I'm going to show you, it starts to get really grainy because it's just getting darker towards the evening. The camera is not spectacular by any means, but it's marginally better than what you're seeing right here. Here I've turned the eye gain up, and I could feel it. Maybe you can see it. The copter handles a little better in the turns. They're just a little smoother, and they certainly felt way better. See that glare there? That glare is because this room is getting actually fairly dark, and the camera is doing a good job of making it look way brighter than it really is.
Just felt really. I remember it feeling really sloppy in the turns.
As far as tuning goes, when I was tuning, we'll just pick that up. We'll get going again. As far as tuning goes, when I was tuning at my friend's house, we also ended up raising the P gain on yaw somewhat. But I felt like this copter was handling pretty good.
Yep. There was no OSD chip on the flight controllers. There's no
OSD. With just that change to eye gain, then that's about it. I didn't like the fact
you had to get
that
in the
it came with air mode off and motor stop on. I really like to be able to drop the throttle to lose altitude quickly, and with motor stop on, of course, as soon as you go below min check, then the copter stops. And actually, I had at least one crash that was a result of me trying to drop altitude, so I chopped the throttle, and I went below min check, and the copter just tumbled.
People are asking why they're so tall.
Why the motors are so tall.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like...
I think number one, they are tall motors in general. Brush motors are much taller and thinner. And also, it's perspective fisheye from the camera probably here as well.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. I think it has something to, I mean, they're pretty tall. I think it has something to do with the structure of the motor. The brush has to ride on the the stator, the rotor. And so you need that bearing surface. And I think the more bearing surface you get, the more torque. And so, but that would be my guess. You're not going to get a lot of good flying, partially because I am a terrible pilot, but also partially because this drone, it was just not that maneuverable.
And that was the end of one of the 3 QX90s that Banggood sent me. Yep, in this case, that crash knocked the inductor off of the video transmitter, and the video I got into a little bit of trouble here. I chopped the throttle, the copter tumbled onto this concrete floor, and that broke an arm. $5, you get basically a bind and fly. What you'd like? You could eat.
Anyway, yeah, that's how they flew. Crappy. Any other brushless? Oh no, brushed. Nope. Micro brush Cheerson 117 micro brushed quadcopter.
Folks, this is the Cheerson 117 micro brushed quadcopter. And there are a couple of things that separate it from the last brushed quadcopter I reviewed, the QX90. One of them is that this is designed to run off of 2S. I'm a decent pilot, but I still.
Oh my God! Look at my house.
And you could bring the QX fly host pilot, but I still find myself smashing into walls and furniture and stuff, and you just go down way too quickly in the tight environment of at least my home. And I really feel like something like the Inductrix, like a ducted model or a Doinker, those types of copters with the enclosed props are really better for indoor flying.
The drone, like
What's that?
just being. You can see. Oh, I forgot. I can't hear the music. You could feel the bottom of the drone swinging out, like like you could see it in the camera, like how wide it swings. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Some of that's me being a bad pilot, but not all of it. I don't know what that crap is all over my floor. Oh, is that me?
What camera angle is this? Probably 0 or 10.
Yeah, you can kind of see here. What we went through. Like, what garbage, honestly.
It just kind of slides forward and back. It comes
Look at that
off,
video transmitter.
and that sort of boxes in the whole of the frame. Here's the receiver. I stole this receiver off of one of the QX90s. Those things are coming in handy. And then there's the flight controller.
Yeah. Oh, here's some
It
outdoor
looks like
flying.
zero camera.
Yeah, this little
zero angle.
slot here, and doing that. It's under fluorescent lighting every hour. And get back. Q has
Camera's
80 fun little
terrible.
tiny be right. Nonsense. Out of the Q, but it's really easy to forget that you're flying. Go up and you up. Experience with Bond Pro.
Where's
That
the
is
outdoor
the
flying?
flight controller and so
Oh, I
proportion
thought I
and
thought
so
I had
forth
some outdoor
out.
flying.
I found especially when I was flying outdoor, and that is when I color really.
I guess there's not much outdoor flying after all. Maybe just a
Nose,
little
nose.
clip. Anyway. Yeah. Brushed motors. Coming back, apparently. All right, that's gonna bring us to the end of the stream.
That means you get to find out, or I guess you've told them already. We're going on hiatus again. Turns
Well,
out.
not for very long. Not as long as last time. But that is true.
Yes, only 20 days this time.
Hey. That's less time than it took Noah to save all of humanity on the Ark. So, I feel like I'm doing pretty good. Yep, we will be coming back on the 19th of July. But we'll hold down the fort afterwards. All right, hold down the fort in the meantime. Yeah, that's going to do it. We'll see you in the next one. Good night, everybody. Congratulations
Bye.
to those who got bingo.